Hi everyone, I'm Hoodie Angel Brandon, and happy holidays! Today we are here with our darling sweetie pie Annette, and we are going to be whipping up a tasty treat. We are going to be plus 10ing her and building her up so that she can protect all her wonderful friends. That's right, we've got sugar and spice and everything nice. Annette is here to spread the cheer, and I am looking forward to this. We have all the copies we need to plus 10 her, all the fodder in place, so we are going to give ourselves a little gift and build her up. Normally, I would max out her hero merit and SP before I start building, but in the spirit of the holidays, I thought we'd open this present a little bit early and add another armor to our angel army. I've mentioned it before, but Annette is my favorite of the Three Houses girls, so I'm very excited to build her. She is supportive, cheerful, cute, and super duper fun, so we are going to have a fun time building her up as well, I'm sure, even if the build is really just your standard save tank setup. She always does her best, and I'm sure that will help us immensely in warding off all the ranged threats that want to attack our units. And she's just super sweet. I love her, and I'm jealous. She's very talented. She's very hard worker. She's not very good at cooking, though, funny enough. And that is something I'm actually pretty decent at, but I feel like with both of us being so clumsy, even if I'm good at cooking, if we were both in the kitchen together, something would be on fire. Probably me. But hey, then at least we both have fiery orange hair, right? And we also both happen to have daddy issues in different ways. She decided to hunt down her deadbeat dad while I just punted mine out of my life. But that is yet another thing we can bond over, so we do have a lot in common, and I'm just super excited to finally build her. So anyway, with that rambling out of the way, let's go ahead and build our girl. We're off to fight, protect our friends, so fierce, so brave, hip hip, hooray! So first things first, we have to promote these 4-star copies, and now we have 11 copies of her. In case you missed the summoning session, we did pull an extra copy for fodder in the future, but we still have more than enough to build our girl up. Look at her, already pretty bulky, and that's only gonna go up from here. And I mentioned that I'm building Annette a little early. My original plan was to build Halloween Nils, who you can see I have down here, also ready to go. But Annette is, it's special for the season, and I thought she would be a fun last-minute treat to build up. And yeah, so I decided to move her up a little bit in the schedule. But fear not, Nils will be on the way as well. And we will get him also prepped up and ready for battle, but for today, let's just celebrate wonderful Annette. Very impressive raw bulk, especially for a demote. Almost there, +9. And finally, the +10. There's our girl, looking very stellar. Wonderful stat line. Oh, that's a lot of 7s, actually. I didn't even notice that. But she is very bulky, doesn't have a lot of speed, which is very funny because that is the opposite of what I would think of with Annette. I would think fairly speedy, also fairly frail, but hits decently hard. But that is fine. She is just all bundled up, lots of layers to protect her from the cold and from her enemies' spells and arrows. And you know, that's important. We gotta keep her safe because look at this smile. This is a smile worth protecting. So, with that, she is all merged up, but that is not all for her raw stats. We still have to do some more improvements. First, as a little treat, we are going to use one of our Ascendant Flores to bump up her res. I kind of wish she had gone up by only 2 points so that she would continue having that 7 across the board, but alas. And now we are going to give her some dragon flowers as well. And just increase her a little bit more. Every little bit helps, especially as a save tank. She really wants all those stats. Speed not as much, but it can still be helpful for denying some doubles on super min-maxed slow units, mostly other armors, but could be helpful, so not going to complain about giving her some mint flowers here. And finally, we have to give her a blessing. We are going to give her the Astra Blessing. It looks like candy. It's super duper sweet and a sugary treat just for her. And this will help also differentiate her from my Winter Ignatz, who is a speedier Farsave armored bow, but he is also geared up for Anima season, so Annette can work on Astra for offense if I would like to use her for that. And normally I would give her a support partner, but I don't actually have anyone for her at the moment. I was thinking if I get Dedu plus 10, I might pair her with him, but for now we'll just leave her without a support partner. That's okay, she is plenty supportive as it is. For her accessory, we could give her this lovely cup of tea to keep her warm through the winter, but I still think it's a little absurd the way they stack them on people's heads. I really wish she just held it. Or even if she put it on her mouth, similar to something like the Courtly Rose or the Bone-in Meat, which also actually would be a kind of funny, cute one, would be having her eating a little treat, but I don't think it quite fits. I also wish that we had like a little candy cane similar to the Bone-in Meat that could be sticking out of her mouth, but instead we're going to go with her very own Melody Clip EX, a gift from herself in an alternate universe. It's very fitting and it just looks very cute on her. So we'll go ahead and give her that instead. Now it is time to give Annette all her lovely little gifts and get her some wonderful skills to help her in the coming battles. And her default bow is actually really good and well suited for the build that I want to give her. So for now, we're actually going to just leave her with her default bow and we're not going to give her any other options. That might change in the future if we get something really good like the arcane bow that happens to be really well suited for her. But for now, she's fine with her default weapon. So instead, we're going to focus on other things. As always, we want to grab those movement assist skills like swap, drawback, and reposition. However, Annette's Cherry Spirit is well known for raising her allies' spirits as well, so we're also going to give her a dual rally. This will synergize really well with her being similar to my other armors. This will synergize really well with her wanting to play more enemy phase, letting her spend her turn to support her more offensive allies, and then protect them on enemy phase. However, we're also going to actually go ahead and grab Drive Speed so that we can grab that. Even though she probably won't use it, just having Joint Drive Speed doesn't hurt, especially since it is a high scoring C slot option if we want to use her in Arena. And in fact, part of the reason I'm doing this a little early is because I do kind of want to use her in Arena while she's a bonus unit. And then again, because I did want to time this to actually come out in time for the holiday season. So we will go ahead and grab the dual rally and the joint drive speed just as a nice throw-in. And I am sure that Annette is right, and she will make this winter festival quite lively indeed. After all, her adorable singing can't be beat. Next, we will go ahead and give her the Aether line, just as a sustain option. Being able to weather multiple attacks will be very helpful for her, but more importantly, we're going to go ahead and grab Deadeye for her, just as I have given all my other invested bow units. We're going to grab that so that she can have that super powerful special as an option as well. We're going to grab Iceberg as a very fast charging special option. I like Deadeye and Aether more for utility, but sometimes you just need a fast charging bit of burst damage, so Iceberg can fill that role. And it works off her very solid res stat. Bonfire would also honestly work just as well. Next, for her main skill, she doesn't actually need a whole lot. She's pretty well built out of the box. However, we can do some optimization. First, we're going to go ahead and grab Svalin Shield, just in case she needs to take on someone with anti-armor. It's a good skill to have, even though it's probably not going to be her main option. Next, we're going to grab Distant Defense 3 from Ashnard, and Distant Defense 4 along with Slick Fighter from Henriette. I'm a little sad to lose the Henriette, but I honestly didn't use her, so it's not a huge deal. Slick Fighter, she doesn't necessarily need because her native Crafty Fighter is already a really good fit for her, but just in case the future Arcane Bow synergizes better with Slick Fighter, I figure I'd pick it up. We could have taken AR Far Save as well, however we have a different save skill that we're going to grab, so I don't feel too bad grabbing Slick Fighter instead. And finally, to round out her skills, we are going to grab DR Far Save from Arthur, and that will give us everything we need to make a super sturdy gingerbread girl. So lastly, before we actually get to building her up, we have to just go ahead and refine these weapons and learn all her skills, as is normal. Since she doesn't need speed, we can either refine her bow for def or res. I'm going to grab both, actually. I don't think the small boost to the attack is really worth it, but getting 3 extra def or res could be very helpful depending on the matchup. I think the res version is slightly more valuable overall, but both definitely have uses. So now we just have to go down the line and learn all of these skills. She doesn't have that many, so it shouldn't take too long. But it will still take a little bit of time to get everything prepared for an unforgettable holiday. Alright, we have returned. Annette's SP is maxed out and her HM is at a number that won't make my eye twitch. And she has more importantly learned all of her skills that we have given her, so we are ready to prepare her build. As I mentioned, this will be a very straightforward save tank build, but if it works, then there's no reason to tamper with it, am I correct? So we are going to start with her bow. It has the flying effectiveness like all bows do, of course, and then it also has an effect of if she is above 25% HP, which with her defenses shouldn't be too much of an issue. She gets to inflict a penalty of attack and def -5 on the foe during combat, which will help her hit a little bit harder and round out both her defenses a little more, giving her a little extra cushion. And as an added effect, it also prevents the foe from making a follow-up attack, basically putting Wary Fighter into her bow, freeing up her B slot, which is very helpful with her very mediocre speed, letting her avoid doubles and prevent herself from getting chipped down as fast. Very helpful. As for def or res refine, it doesn't really matter too much, both of her stats are high. I do think res is a little better since there are more super strong magical threats, though I think you could make an argument for taking either one. Honestly, I'm kind of tempted to take the defense refine just so that we can leave the 49 res intact, because 49 is one of my lucky numbers, along with 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 14, 32, 39, 47, 49, and 104. And 69 too, sure, why not? But those other ones are actually my lucky numbers, so it is tempting to leave 49 intact, but I think the res will be slightly more helpful for her, so we'll take that. For her assist skill, of course, we have the movement options. We will take the rally attack speed, though, as I mentioned earlier, it does let her support her allies on player phase and then swoop in and protect them on enemy phase. Pretty helpful for this build, but of course, any of the movement options are also great, depending on the situation. For her special, we could take her default Moonbow just because it has a very low cooldown count, although Iceberg is another option that will hit very hard off of her 52 res. But then we also have Aether as an option that gives us some damage but also gives her sustain, which could be very helpful for her since she is tanking. But I do like the fact that she is a bow, so she does have access to Deadeye to get around effects that grant damage reduction, which is a little more important for her than for Ignatz, because Ignatz is naturally fast and most of the damage reduction effects do scale off of speed, so it's not as important for him because he might outspeed some of those units anyways. But Annette is not going to really outspeed anyone with her low speed, so being able to just cut through those damage reduction effects could be very helpful for her. So we are going to take Deadeye. It is a little awkward on the cooldown count due to being at 3 and not having a slaying effect in her weapon, but when it goes off it should be very helpful for her. For her A slot, we could take Svalin Shield. As I mentioned, it will let her tank armor effective enemies a little better. In particular, the Archer Croms could be troublesome for her, but then she also has her native attack res ideal, which is not a bad option on a budget. However, we are going to take Distant Defense 4, neutralizes enemy bonuses, which is very helpful for her to avoid getting worn down by enemies buffing themselves and breaking through her defenses. Very similar to the reason we put it on Valentine's Alphonse, although it might even work a little better on her because she's already very hard to crack due to the follow-up prevention in her bow. So that is another way that she is a little different from my other save tanks, is that follow-up prevention could be very helpful for her. And Alphonse does have the passive healing effect, so there are definitely situations where even though both are bulky armors, they could both be useful depending on the map and what enemies we're going against. For example, if the enemy is laying down a lot of fatal smoke, then Alphonse probably isn't the best option, and Annette would shine there. For other A-slot options, we could just take something like Fortress Def Res, or even a Unity skill could probably have utility on a team that's employing more buffs, but I like the simplicity of Distant Defense 4, and it also gives a very nice 8 Def and Res, so that is super helpful. For her B slot, we have the option of Crafty Fighter, which she natively comes with, and is what I think is the better option for her, at least at the moment, giving her a guaranteed follow-up attack, which when combined with her bow means the enemies can't follow up and she can, assuming there's no null follow-up shenanigans, is pretty nice for her, and again gets around her awkward speed tier. And it also has that guard effect, which is very helpful for keeping her from getting worn down by enemy specials. However, we could technically swap this out and run a stance skill in her A slot, which would give her the guard effect, and allow her to run something else like Slick Fighter to prevent penalties. Although again, we could run like a Unity skill to get around penalties if we really cared that much about those. And she does have Slick Fighter as another option, but I'm going to stick with Crafty for now. Again, both this and her A slot might change if we get an arcane bow that works really well for her. For example, say it comes with a guard effect, or it comes with an effect that nullifies enemies' bonuses in the bow, then we might want to swap to something else in the A or the B slot. But for now, this has really good synergy, just making her really hard to crack through. And then finally for her C slot, of course we do want DR Far Save to let her act as a savior unit and swoop in and protect everyone, our adorable little gingerbread guardian. However, we did get Joint Drive Speed as a throw-in, which might be useful for arena scoring or what have you. Or if we have her on a team with another Far Save unit, then she could still support with Joint Drive Speed. She's definitely not the best unit to use Joint Drive Speed, and we wouldn't have picked this up for her if it wasn't a throw-in with her rally. But it could theoretically have some kind of use, but I think that for the most part she's going to just want to stick to DR Far Save. Finally, in her seal, we have the standard options. We have stances. Bracing stance could be really good, give her a little bit of extra cushion on both her defensive stats. We could get distant defense, although that would mean taking it off of Alphonse, so we're going to not do that. Really, anything that improves her defenses could be helpful. We could also take something like Mystic Boost, which is always just a fantastic seal option to give that extra sustain. And it's a little more relevant for Annette than it is for, say, Alphonse. She is giving up her special so that she can run Deadeye, so that means she can't get the sustain from Aether. So Mystic Boost could help with that if that is an issue, and she is getting worn down too much. However, for her, I think I would like either a form skill or a bond. In this case, I would like Def Res Bond. I think that bonds are just a little easier to use, so I do prefer them, but she could definitely run a form skill since I do tend to pack my units close up together. But that is pretty nice. With that, she will have a base of 48, 52 Def and Res, and then an additional 5 Def Res effectively from her bow, 8 from Distant Defense 4, 4 from her Savior skill, and an additional 5 from the bond, for a total of 70 Def and 74 Res when everything is triggering, which is pretty dang wonderful for a demote unit. Very pleased with that stat line, and I think she will be able to tank quite a lot. So all that's left is to test her out. We will have her joined by our dear Professor Byleth, who is just running his standard Gale Force setup, and Seteth, who is also running a Gale Force build. And then in the last slot, I guess we'll bring Papa Gerald. He looks like he could dress up like Santa Claus, so I think he is fitting enough for the theme. And he is just running his standard offensive set, so nothing too mind-blowing. They will swoop in and take out most of the enemies, and Annette will protect them from any ranged foes. So we have found a Marth lead, and we will just see how Annette fares against this. This is actually quite a lot of ranged units. I'm a little worried, actually. They are not weak ranged units either. That is a very spooky looking Lilina, a pretty spooky leg yarn, and a spooky dagger as well, although they forgot her seal, so maybe we'll be fine. And they are getting debuffed by Papa Geralt as well, which will make it a little easier for Annie to swoop in and keep us safe, hopefully. But we will start by having our dear Professor move up like so, and we will have Annette move in as well, and we want Seteth to move in close enough that he can support with his spear, so that Annette should have no issues taking down Lilina, and we will just have we'll have Papa Geralt move like so, and I want to make sure that I'm not getting in range of dagger, but I do want to also keep him away from Seteth so that his rouse skill can trigger, so we're going to move him up into the space of that wall that we broke. So Lilina moves in and attacks Byleth. However, Annette was not in range of the AoE attack, so she takes no damage. Lilina does no damage to her, and then we just one-shot on the counterattack. Oh. I just realized also that she is getting a bonus of 4 stats across the board due to being a bonus unit. Arena Assault is not actually available at the moment, so I can't test her without the bonus stats, which is really annoying. But we will continue. So we're going to... So I don't want to move in and attack Marth, so I think we'll just pull back and bait down Leg Yarn, and we'll keep Geralt and Seteth nearby so that they can take out Marth if necessary. Shouldn't be an issue right now. Annette will tank Leg Yarn, who is doing nothing to her, and we will just shoot him out of the sky with Deadeye, 106 damage. Very powerful. And now Seteth can move in, finish off Marth. No issue. Farewell, Hero King. And now all that's left is to have Annie move up, and she will intercept Dagger as well. She is actually doing damage to Annette, but Annette is tanking like a champion and then just one-shots on the return. No issues whatsoever. Very impressive, though again, that was somewhat inflated due to the arena bonus stats. So she won't actually be quite that strong, but she was still taking very little damage even if you take off those bonus stats. So I think she will be quite fine at defending everyone regardless. So overall, very pleased with her. I am a little disappointed that we couldn't test her without the bonus stats. However, we do have a Abyssal coming up that will be a better test of her, I think. So we will still get a chance to see Annette show her stuff. And again, even without those bonus stats factored in, I think she was going to be taking very little damage and still be hitting just about as hard. So I still think she would have been pretty impressive even taking the bonus stats out of the equation. Overall, I'm very pleased with her. She is looking like she is going to be a lot of fun to use, and I can't wait to see more from her. So, I hope you enjoyed this short little showcase and building video. As always, it was fun to build up one of my favorite characters and share her with you guys and just see how she performed. Anyway, until next time, this is Hoodie Angel Brandon and Annette signing out and wishing you all a happy holidays.